Hello, and welcome to The Green Team, the weird little spin-off podcast where patrons of the Legendarium talk about the books and topics the main crew haven't gotten around to yet. I'm Little Red Book, and today I have with me our dear overlady, BefuddledPanda.
Hello.
And I have the master of the poop jokes, Hurinfan. And we have a very special guest today, the lover of the punchin, Kenn from the Legendarium.
Well, special, but not in the good way.
Well, I didn't say that.
Usually, well, that's what Craig would say if he were here, I guess. I'm just channeling.
We
nice.
give compliments. We don't give insults, except for Huron's case, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
Panda,
I mean,
nobody
he
likes
does
you.
tell really
Thanks.
appropriate, funny poop jokes.
What's wrong with a good poop joke now and again?
Nothing.
Welcome to our Mount Rushmore episode, where we are going to each go through our top sci-fi and fantasy action movies. These are not necessarily the best or most influential, broadly speaking, but personal. But before we get started, here's a definition of an action movie. According to Wikipedia, the most reliable of internet sources, action is a film genre in which the protagonist or protagonists are thrust into a series of events that typically include violence, extended fighting, physical feats, rescues, frantic chases. They tend to feature mostly resourceful heroes struggling against incredible odds, which include life-threatening situations, a dangerous villain, or a pursuit which usually concludes with a victory for the hero. So, how do we define the difference between action and science fiction and fantasy action? There's a thin line, and I believe Kenn has some thoughts.
Well, I think the distinction is pretty simple, and is the action or is the story driven by something that is science-y or fantastical? I mean, it's kind of a simplistic definition, right? But for example, well, this is kind of a spoiler for later in the episode, but for example, The Matrix, which is really just an action movie. It's an excuse to throw martial arts and lots of good punching into the story, but it's centered around being absorbed into a computer and a lot of things that are science fiction-y, and it's set in 2199, and really you throw the science aspect in there, and now all of a sudden an action movie becomes a science fiction action movie. Or go the other direction and say Timeline, for example. That's kind of a science fiction action movie because it's got the science fiction of a time machine, but is it a science fiction movie or a fantasy movie because it takes place in the past with swords and such? So I mean, you could probably argue either direction. I think it's probably more of a science fiction movie because the concept of the time machine drives the story a little bit more than the sword and board action stuff.
So. I think I've actually seen Timeline. I've read the book. So
the movie's okay. The book is much better.
Yeah, the book is much better.
So when does a movie cross the line from being just an action movie to a science fiction or fantasy? And I'm bringing this up because there's a lot of like James Bond movies. Some of them really push up against that line.
Yeah.
A couple of the Die Hard movies, Fast and the Furious in places.
Those are those nice.
Go into fantasy at least.
you start to get into those 6, 7, 8, yeah, and all of a sudden you're seeing some things that are fairly fantastical, and
cars being parachuted out of planes, I guess could really happen. Maybe, I don't know.
Well,
Sure.
So here's the thing. I think for science fiction, when you typically think of a science fiction action film, there are those like more advanced kind of science-y technology or aliens and space aspected elements. Those are pretty easy to recognize as science fiction action. There are, I think, it's a transition, it's a spectrum where there are some films that are in the gray area, and those can be argued either way. For example, with what Kenn was saying, like, if the technology is believable enough, yet doesn't actually exist in our world today, does that qualify as science fiction? Right? Like,
Sure.
we have computers today, but a computer that's like, cognitive and like self-aware, right? We are making steps towards more intelligent computers, but we aren't quite there yet for like, sentient software. So to me, that still qualifies as science fiction.
What do you think, Huron? You've been quiet.
Yeah. I usually fall into the not including things in the science fiction and fantasy. Because from what I've seen of Fast and Furious, and only the first two movies, because that was more than enough for me,
Oh,
I would not consider it fantasy or science fiction. Even though it has obviously some fantastical elements, it's not what I would watch it for, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I tend to define genres by the reason I'm watching it, instead of just putting together the tropes that it uses or the elements that are usually part of a certain genre.
Mm.
I forgot where I was going. Oh, yeah, my question. Would you guys consider V for Vendetta to be science fiction? Because I think I would not.
No, I don't think so.
I haven't seen or read it, so I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, you should see it.
Because I've seen many people call it sci-fi when it's really just a dystopian future. And I think the trope of a dystopian future is really common in sci-fi, and so people mix the two up.
I was going to say, there's a lot of...
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that a lot of people think that dystopian automatically falls into sci-fi.
I feel like dystopian is a subgenre, like a subcategory of science fiction. So that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Is 1984 sci-fi?
I think so. It's like dystopian sci-fi.
We're getting
Sci-fi
way off
dystopian.
topic. Let's talk about movies and punching.
Now you got me thinking of Orwell. I'm like, oh, maybe. I mean, it was probably science. It could have been considered science fiction for back in the 1950s. I mean, but I don't know. I don't necessarily think that dystopian instantly makes it science fiction.
That's fair.
So I had a really weird conversation with my brother-in-law, and he said that 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea wasn't science fiction.
Disagree.
Oh, I absolutely disagree. No, I think you're using technology, especially even though the book is more than 100 years old, but you're using technology, and like Hurin said earlier, technology that we might not have quite yet to drive the story and the plot forward. I think that could very well qualify under science fiction.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be like speculative science either, because 2001: A Space Odyssey is absolutely doable with like 1960s technology or whenever it was made, and that's absolutely science fiction. I mean, even if you take out the pillar and all the weird stuff.
I want you to remember these words when I give one of my picks. Okay, just remember these words that you were saying.
Who would like to start?
Can we start with honorable mentions?
Oh, I thought honorable mentions should go at the end. Isn't that where they generally
should go at the beginning?
Okay.
Because we're working our way up to the top of...
We could save the good stuff for tease the good stuff.
Huron, tell us all about your honorable mentions.
My honorable mentions, in no particular order, are Avengers Endgame, which I think was the best Avengers movie and the best superhero movie. Equilibrium with Christian Bale. Aliens, Terminator 2, The Matrix, Kung Fu Hustle, Akira, and Dread.
Oh.
Wow.
What he said.
A lot of others receiving votes.
I would throw in the first Terminator, and that's the only thing I would... He actually has some of my movies, but Dread is fantastic. And there was another one. It's gone. I didn't write mine down. It's fine. Hey, Ken, what about you?
Oh, really? My honorable mentions, I have a few. Transformers is absolutely on my honorable mention list. I know we were joking about that before this, before we recorded, when we were spitballing, we mentioned it, and I absolutely would put it on my honorable mentions. It's not... The first Transformers is pretty fantastic, and it's kind of innovative, with the robots and everything and the technology. So I put it on there. Predator is on my honorable mentions.
Ooh, Predator.
I
that
love
was the
Predator
other one.
so much. And this one, it's kind of questionable as sci-fi, but I just love it so much, and that's Highlander. It's
Hmm.
I would say
it's really
fantasy.
more of a fantasy than it is a sci-fi, but I just love it. So I'll take every chance to mention Highlander that I can. I tried to put it on my Mount Rushmore, but seeing as how it's more fantasy than it is science fiction, I just couldn't justify it there.
Oh,
this is
no,
sci-fi
we
and
could have
fantasy.
had it was both. It
Well,
was both.
we'll leave it. We'll leave it on on honorable mention at least. And then there's Terminator and Pacific Rim gets a mention because it's giant robots fighting, but it's not terribly innovative. And Ryan always gives me crap because I still have never seen Pacific Rim or Pacific Rim
Wait.
2.
Oh,
I know,
Really?
right? I'm not lying.
What?
Never seen them.
That's,
You'd like
that's
it.
I've seen part of the first Pacific Rim. I've never seen Uprising.
I haven't seen the second one either. I've only seen the first.
So we
Everybody
keep
says don't.
talking about doing a riff tracks or a
Yes.
watching episode where we actually sit down and watch Pacific Rim since I've never seen it.
Do
Well,
it.
Panda and Lady Sweden are on board for that with me.
Awesome.
Kieran,
I was under the impression that this was sci-fi and fantasy Mount Rushmore.
it was. It is.
Okay.
Okay.
It's just
Yeah.
that Yeah.
Does that change your Mount Rushmore, Ken?
Not necessarily. Well, it might. There is one movie on there that probably could be supplanted by Highlander, and we'll get to it when we come around. I'll kind of go through the Sophie's choice, but for
Okay.
now we'll leave it. We'll leave it on the also rans for now, I guess.
Okay.
Plus, every
Okay,
Marvel
Pan.
movie. It was hard to pick any Marvel movie. They're all right there. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I
Panda.
just
Fine.
over one.
It's Panda's turn though for her honorable mentions.
My honorable mentions, I'm just gonna give 3. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, had a pretty big impact on my teenage life. Thor Ragnarok, which is so far the best Thor movie.
The
And The
best
Incredibles.
Marvel movie. Yeah, the best Marvel movie.
Really?
Thor Ragnarok? Yeah, absolutely.
I think arguably it's either top 1 or top 2 of the Marvel franchise.
Guys,
Wow.
I have fallen asleep twice watching that movie. And I
Ragnarok?
don't know. Yes. I don't know what's wrong
Wow.
with me
Huh.
because it's just something
I don't
that
either.
the first time I know why. It was because I had worked like a 45-hour week and I had taken mom to the hospital like twice that week as well. And so I was just really tired. But the
Okay.
second time, I don't know. I don't know.
Hi, Editing Panda here. We had a lot of fun in this discussion, and we did let some of the spoilers get away from us a little bit. So this is a general warning that there will be minor spoilers. If you've seen the trailers for these movies, you probably have already been spoiled. So listen at your own risk. And with that, we hope you enjoy.
Okay, Huron. What's your first movie?
4th spot.
I haven't
No,
ranked them, so I'll
stop. Just a second. These aren't rankings. They're just movies we like.
They are ranked for
Maybe
me.
for you. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Okay, I didn't rank mine, so I'll just start with the one I have at the bottom of my list. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Nice.
I had to include at least one kung fu movie, and I'm a big fan of wire fu. I wish there were more ones being made. I also would include House of Flying Daggers and Hero. I just really love. I'm a sucker for really beautiful shots and great cinematography, and wire fu movies, especially Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, that just have these breathtakingly beautiful shots. I really like the themes of identity and gender in the movie, and the bamboo fight scene is amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And,
All 3 of those movies are great.
And the film has a lot of subtleties that you don't really see, that you mostly only see in Eastern cinema. A lot of things that go unsaid that must be read in between the lines, and like hidden emotions behind niceties and that kind of thing. And I'm a sucker for it.
Nice.
I also love the subtitles.
Oh.
I do. Movies like that, I can't watch them dubbed. They have to be subtitled, or else
Yeah.
it loses something for me.
I don't
Yeah,
watch
I
any
agree.
foreign films with dubs.
It's awful. Throws me off.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Neither have I. I do remember really liking it. I was just going to say I watch subtitles on all my movies. So
Yeah, I do too. Actually, even when it's in English, because sometimes you lose things when the sound goes down or
The
they're
sound
whispering or
mixing.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes the sound mixing is weird, or if they start whispering to each other, Like,
Oh, that's
what was
so
that?
annoying.
Yeah. So
The
Yeah,
explosions
it's
are
not just
really
because you
loud.
guys are getting old.
I am getting
No,
old.
the explosions are really loud, but the dialogue is really quiet. I hate that.
Right? Or the music is
Oh
really
man, the
loud.
sound
too,
mixing.
sometimes.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
Okay. Panda, you're
You
up.
try to watch a movie late at night and like your parents are asleep and you're like, oh my god, shut up. And you turn it down and you can't hear them talk. Terrible.
See,
Yep.
the struggle's real.
Okay. So my list is ranked, which I don't know why. I just decided to do it that way. But I want to make it clear that this one in my fourth spot is because it has the least qualifying like science fiction fantasy elements of all of my picks. So that's why it's going in the fourth spot. But if this were just a list of straight up action films, it would be higher. It'd be like number 2. So my fourth pick is Furious 7, and I will justify my pick.
Red is just shaking her head there.
Um,
Because it's a
so
good movie.
the critics would disagree with you, and so would the audience. It's got 82% on Rotten Tomatoes for both the critics and the audience, and it grossed $1.5 billion worldwide. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the 7th installment, and I'm not going to say too much because spoilers, but all you really need to know is that there are bad guys that need defeating, and there are cool things with cars that need doing. And there are helicopters and something more deadly than that involved. And it's also a film with a lot of heart. It has a nice callback to an earlier film in the franchise, tying it back into the fold. And my justification for why it is a science fiction, I'm actually categorizing it as a science fiction action. We've got the action part down. Like there's protagonist galore, but the main protagonist is Dom Toretto, and he's there to get revenge and also protect his family.
And drink
There's
Corona.
plenty. Yes, he does drink Corona, and there's plenty of fist fights. I think this might actually be the installment that has the most fist fights, like man on man, woman on woman fights. Can you imagine punching the Rock? There's women wrestling around in a hotel room, gunfights, plenty, military power, car chases, and the science fiction part is. We'll just start with the most sci-fi element here. There is this thing called God's Eye, which is a software program that is like the top king of all hacking software. It's the central global tracking device on steroids and can hack anything and everything with a camera or a mic. And it does this biomapping thing of a person and then is able to locate the person like anywhere in the world where a camera or a mic exists. So that is like the main, quote unquote, the main part of the plot that's driving the plot, where they're supposed to not let this software fall into the wrong hands. And then there's like other sci-fi-ish elements, how physics work.
Is that the one where the Rock flexes and busts his cast?
He
He breaks out of
does.
his cast by
Yes.
flexing. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
It's also the one where the cars
Science fiction.
parachute out of the plane.
I got a question about the series. Does the dialogue get any better than the first
No.
2 movies?
No.
Personally, I say yes. But here's the thing. Okay, like
Don't spoil.
I'm not gonna spoil. I mean, the only part I spoil is cars parachuting out of an airplane. Oops.
But that's on the preview.
that was on trailers. Yeah, that was on
Oh,
commercials.
great.
That's-
Perfect.
That's fine.
Modern trailers spoil so much, though.
They really do.
It's awful.
They do.
The one thing I will say for Fast and Furious is that Jason Statham is a total babe, and I just like watching him punch things.
You're in the bowl,
Great.
Take
guys.
off his shirt.
Jason Statham is total cool.
There are a lot of wonderful, beautiful people in the franchise.
I'm considering watching this just because Panda said girl fights and wrestling.
Oh.
Hearn's throwing his money right there. I'm in.
There is a female, like a real female wrestler featured in this film. Well, not featured, but she is part of the
MMA
film.
fighter. Yeah.
But I mean, I love this franchise because of the characters, really. There's a lot of action. There's really cool cars and all of that, but the characters are really why I love this franchise. Like, found family is one of my favorite tropes, and this really hits the spot. By the 7th installment, I've grown so attached that, Paul Walker's passing had a significant emotional impact for me as I watched this one. And at the end, I got so teary-eyed. So this is like a Bond film, but better. I will say that.
Better Bond film.
Yes.
I love Bond. Most Bond.
I don't know what to
I
say.
can continue gushing, but I know Little
No.
Red's like, I'm done.
I mean, they're fine. There's a lot of movies that I know are objectively bad movies that I love anyway. And
I'm saying this is objectively not bad, and it also
Okay.
has a pretty diverse cast, which I appreciate.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Got a big
Okay,
cast, right?
Ken, what you got for
Mhm.
us? A recap, I hope.
Number 4. Oh, I didn't do a recap.
Oh, you're fired.
I'm trying
Kick
to
him
think of one off.
podcast, Panda.
I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head now. So number 4 on my list, and it's the one that I went back and forth with between this and Highlander, but I went with it because it was so innovative at the time, and it's just so noteworthy in science fiction action movies, and that's Terminator 2.
Nice.
With liquid metal. It's John Connor as a teenager who seems like he's doing okay, except his mom's got him hidden from the world because she knows that he's going to save the world from Skynet and the robots, only to have a second robot come back, this one made of metal, of liquid metal, who can impersonate anything that is a simple machine. And the Terminator has to come back this time, instead of to kill John Connor, has to come back to save John Connor and keep this other Terminator from killing him. Meanwhile, they spring his mother out of the psycho hospital because, I mean, she's been running around for 8 years telling people that the world's going to end in 1997, and now she's locked up because she's nuts. Although, she's not really nuts. And action ensues, chaos ensues. It also introduces us to Robert Patrick, who is awesome.
Mhm.
So Terminator 2 is a fantastic movie. Deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore, in my opinion. I just love Highlander more. And that's the last time I'm going to mention Highlander. So, the Terminator 2 deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore, I think. It was very innovative for its time, and it still stands up today. A lot of those effects are still pretty neat, even though it's 30 years old and quite dated.
Mm.
I miss Edward Furlong.
Yeah, he just kind of disappeared, didn't he?
Yeah.
I thought he was pretty good. Plus, I have one of my favorite sequences in it where he's calling his foster parents to tell him to get out of the house and everything. And he says, "What's the dog's name?" "Max." "How's Wolfie?" "Wolfie's fine." "Your parents are dead." And
Right.
and she's got the hand knife through the mouth. That's not really spoilery, but she's got
A little bit
the
spoilery, but okay. So my first one I'm going to talk about is Blade, with Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes.
See, I was going to justify this in a couple ways. I was going to justify it by saying it was the first Black superhero movie, but it's not. I was also going to justify it by saying it was the first rated R superhero movie, but it's not that either. So I'm just going to say I love vampires, and I love watching Wesley Snipes kick some serious butt. And it starts off with this guy, and he's in a meat packing factory. He's got this hot girl invited him in, and there's a dance party, and it's a ravey, and all of a sudden blood starts gushing from the ceiling, and then Wesley Snipes shows up and kills everybody. And you gotta love that. It's just great. It's got a great opening. The one main problem with the movie is that this a lot of the special effects did not age well at all. It was in the very early stages of CGI, and the last scene, it's rough, guys. I just
Blade's
watched
fun.
it with
I like Blade.
no, I just watched it with number one son. I don't know, about 6 months ago, and he was like, "Mom, this is bad. This."
Blade 2's
He was
better, in my
only
opinion.
talking. He was only talking about the CGI, not the actual whole movie, but just and it's really bad.
I have
And
never
Blade-
seen Blade.
Do you like
It's-
vampires?
It's really fun.
I do love vampires.
It's a really fun movie, and it's not real long either.
It's on my list. I mean, I'm sure I'm gonna take away a pretty significant list of films that I need to catch up on from this episode.
So in the third movie, I believe Wesley Snipes is laying down on a table, and they CG his eyes opening, and it looks awful. Like
Why?
the story is he was just being incredibly difficult, and he didn't want to be there, so he refused to open his eyes, and so they
Oh
just
my gosh.
Really? Is that true?
look it up on. I don't know if that part's true, but look it up on YouTube. It's obvious they CG'd his opening eyes, and it's awful.
Wow.
I got to go back and watch that. The only thing that I remember from Blade Trinity was it introduced me to Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel, and that was good enough because both of them were just awesome, cool.
So
Wow.
Even though the movie was very, very bad.
it was a very bad movie. The only thing I remember about Blade Trinity is that my ex and I went to back when you could go to Blockbusters. That was a thing. We went to Blockbusters and we were picking out movies. And I picked Blade Trinity and he picked Christmas rom-com. And so like the clerk was giving us a bad time and I was like, no, I picked that movie. Anyway.
That's why he's the X.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of reasons why he's the X, but that's one of them. Okay, Huron, I believe it's your turn now.
My second on my list is The Incredibles by Pixar and director Brad Bird, who also did The Iron Giant, which is also fantastic, and Ratatouille, which I think I might actually like more than The Incredibles, but it's not an action movie. Its themes of family and compassion and high identity are relevant today, and it's really touching. It's funny, it's hilarious, it's heartwarming, it's got fantastic music, and the shots are really, really good.
Michael Giacchino, so good.
The music, like sometimes I just want to hear it. Dun, dun, dun,
Oh, I'll just play the soundtrack at random because I want to.
And like really the cinematography is what got me. Like when he gets captured and like it's great.
I was very jealous when you picked this one. It was the one. That's the reason I deliberately didn't put it on my list because you already got it. But this is my favorite Pixar movie. It is a fantastic superhero movie in its own right. And I totally forgot to look at animated movies. But if I did, this one would absolutely be on my list too because I love this movie so much.
Yeah, that's
I didn't mean to steal your thunder, Huron, but
the sequel is also good, although not as good.
I agree.
Agreed.
I
Absolutely.
mean, I think it's pretty cool that they did take the time. You know, it was like 10 years after the first one released, and they came out with the second one. It's just like it picks up right where the first one left off. That was really cool. And yeah, I remember there was a summer where my brother and I would just watch Incredibles constantly because it was that good. Brad Bird's a really good storyteller.
It's a fantastic
I always
movie.
cry at the end of Iron Giant.
It was actually 14 years after Panda.
Oh, 14.
Yeah.
Dang.
Wow.
I know. It was far too long. There should be a whole series of Incredibles movies, in my opinion.
I don't
I
know.
want to say
Maybe
that
we will.
So the way I feel about that is, look what happened to Star Wars.
That is true.
Yeah. But
I mean,
Brad Bird is not in charge of Star Wars.
No, I know. But my point is that sometimes you should just stop.
Sometimes less is more.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm okay with a third one. Like, if they do 3, I'll be happy. I mean, I'm happy with the 2, but...
Especially in Predator again.
Yeah. I often think that way about Firefly. Everybody wanted to see a second season, and I thought it's probably better that it got out before it got stale. Leave people wanting more.
It's only one season.
It could have got 3 seasons, but 3 great seasons out easy. But
it got the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, the movie was fun. Oh, I didn't think about that. I could have put that.
Yeah, I didn't consider
Serenity would have been. All of a sudden, we're all reevaluating our Mount Rushmores now. Oh, Serenity, that's a good one. It is a good one. That's a great story.
I wouldn't put it on my list though. I would put it in my honorable mentions though. Okay, Panda, your turn.
Okay, my next one, and I know you guys are going to tear me down for this, but I'm going for it. Boo.
Preemptive booing.
I had considered Bumblebee. It is critically more well received than the other Transformers films. It got 90% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. However, I did rewatch it recently, and I just didn't feel the tug as much as I did for another Transformers film. I appreciated the female main character, and we got a lot of screen time with Bumblebee, but it just didn't hit me the same way, and I think it's because of the music. Like, Jablonski's score, it's pretty iconic to me and it's pretty impactful. So I am putting Transformers, the first film of the franchise, in this spot. And I mean, robots fighting other robots and fighting, well, there's like the highway scene. There's Optimus in the forest. There's the last battle scene. They're really cool cars. I know Hurin's not a car guy. I'm not really a car person, but I can appreciate really cool cars. And the science fiction element is totally there. I think why I really appreciate this film is also because the CGI tech is incredible. Like, ILM really outdid themselves, especially at that time period, and they had to like create new technology to be able to create these robots. And it's just amazing what they were able to do. And it's realistic. Like, the transitions are so smooth. So I really appreciate it.
The one time that I did see it, that did stand out. It was quite pretty. And Jabroni is a good composer.
Jablonski.
Oh, Jabroni.
They're fine. They're fun movies.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah,
first
they're-
one, the
they're
first
de-
one really stands out though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the first
think.
one really does.
I
And Long Story is
honestly,
known for its heartwarming moments.
I've-
honestly, after I watched the second one, was like, okay, I never have to see another Transformer movie ever again. Like, I just,
There's criticism that there's not enough robot screen time in the first Transformers movie, but I kind of disagree. Like, I think the human elements of the film is what also makes the film work. I really appreciated Shia LaBeouf's performance as Sam, and Bernie Mac and Anthony Anderson. Like, they brought together, I felt like it really gave the film more lighthearted feel, and it's not just action, 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 peril, peril, peril.
I like Shia.
I very much enjoyed the military scenes in that.
There's quite a few of that.
Well, they were very well. They were acted very well, and they were written and directed very well. That was one thing. That's one thing that Michael Bay always does a pretty good job of, is getting authentic military presence when he's doing that. And a lot of when they were doing the sequence on the, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm losing what it's called, but when he had all of the military activity surrounding actually engaging the Transformers initially, a lot of those people were actual airmen who were just basically acting, because like, do what you normally do and we're going to shoot it. And so here they are with this script in this movie, and they're not really acting so much as they're saying this is what it's like in everyday life. And so a lot of the things that they incorporate in that are authentic. I mean, considering it's a movie with robots,
with giant space robots.
But that aspect of it was at least authentic, you know, in terms of how would we engage this? This is how we would do it. And I loved it. And I just love Glenn Morshower as an actor. I think he's so cool. So
yeah.
The general, you know, like he's neat.
Yeah. And I love all those things. So
I'll back you up. I'll back up your Transformer
Yay!
pick any day.
Thank you.
If it were Transformer 2 or 3 or whatever, I wouldn't. But number one, absolutely.
I agree.
I opposite back you up.
Okay,
Karen.
that's fine too. I knew you would poop on at least 2 of my picks.
Here's what I'll say. It's a fine movie. It's a lot of fun. That's what I'll say. But I would not put it on a mountain.
I agree. It's fun.
I mean, that I guess what we haven't really talked about is like, why do we watch, you know, SFF action films? And for me, a big factor is that fun element, that entertainment, and watching like really large scale action. Yeah.
I feel like, and I feel like we've beaten this one to death, but I feel like Transformers, the popularity of Transformers really paved the way for Pacific Rim, for even for Godzilla and those large scale monster movies. The fact that it could be successful kind of allowed us to do something like that.
Even the Avenger movies, like if you watch, there's a particular scene in the third one, I think, Dark of the Moon. You'll see like, oh, this seems similar to something that happens later in one of the Avenger films. And it's like, yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
One of the things that was really fun about Transformers for me is because I could take my kids to watch this movie. You know, they were like, I don't know, I don't remember exactly how old. They weren't very old. To watch this movie about this cartoon that I watched when I was that age. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so
Yeah,
that
that
was
is
a
really
really
cool.
cool thing. And I think that is also a big part of why that movie is so successful, because it was made by people who loved the franchise.
Mhm.
Okay, Huron.
If I'm being honest, I poop on it more than it deserves simply because of its popularity. And
Oh my
Transformers is no worse than Blade.
I
No,
do
no
have
worse,
to
no better.
I do have to qualify though that there are problems with the franchise, like stereotyping, particularly in like the treatment of women. So it's definitely got its flaws, but the first one just has a very special part in my heart. So.
You know, I'm a huge James Bond fan, and you can't even get me started on the treatment of women by that series.
Especially the old Sean Connery stuff.
I just,
Oh my
but
goodness.
I love it so much. I can't help it. I just love James Bond. Okay, Ken, it is your turn.
Aliens would be my second one.
Mm. Is that
I think I
is
just
that the first film?
Alien is the
Alien.
first one.
Okay,
And
Alien.
Alien was great also.
Okay.
It was very suspenseful more than it was action.
Mm.
I would say horror. It's a horror movie. Not
Yeah,
that
it was
It
more
was space
more
horror,
horror.
sci-fi horror, and the
Yeah,
Aliens was James
Ken,
Cameron.
and it was very
Ken,
little action. Did I steal yours,
Aliens.
Red?
It's fine. We both had
I knew you
aliens.
guys had aliens.
You
so I
both
didn't
can
put it on
talk
my,
about it.
It's Aliens. We can share.
Alien, the second
It's
one.
so good.
It is
So,
so good.
but yeah, Aliens is great. Go ahead. And how about this? I'll let you explain why it's great, Red.
Oh, no. You go ahead, Mr. Recap. That you
Oh,
didn't, right? I'm very
know.
angry.
I know.
So
It's been a very
Craig told
busy
us-
week.
Craig told us we should kick you off if you didn't write a recap.
did he now?
You did.
I'm
said it.
sorry.
No, it's fine.
Don't be
So
sorry.
no, Aliens is great because you have this. First of all, Ripley is the most amazing, badass woman ever.
Absolutely.
But you also have, but she's like a normal woman. Like, even though she's super badass, she's just a normal woman, you know? Exactly. She's strong. The whole plot line with Newt, who's this little girl,
Newt.
who's the only person left alive on this planet that they show up to investigate. And the whole her not only being tough and powerful, but also having this motherly thing going on too. It's just really heartwarming. And if you've ever heard somebody say, "It's game over, man! It's game over!"
Right.
from Aliens.
Excellent.
Yep. Gave
It's
us
so.
I love it. I love that. Gave us a great Bill Paxton moment. Well, gave us several great Bill Paxton moments.
Yep.
You know, he was wildly underrated as an actor.
I
Perhaps
think
he's a
that
director.
he was a director.
No, Bill Paxton was an actor. He was the
Oh,
one
okay.
that said, "Game over, man. Game over."
I'm pretty sure he's done lots of directing as well.
I think he had. Sadly, we lost him a few years ago.
Yeah.
Pour one out. I liked him in Tombstone, but
Yeah.
that's another movie
Oh.
that never gets old. If
No,
we were doing a
that's-
different kind of Mount Rushmore, that would be on mine.
We're
Great
getting
movie.
ideas. I think Aliens is something that I haven't seen all the way through, but I did catch part of it on TV when it was playing, and it was a very particular scene that I'm not gonna say because it's spoilers, but it gave me nightmares. Like, it gave me nightmare that night.
That's completely believable. It's a
The
frightening
Alien
movie.
or Aliens?
Both.
Aliens.
Well, Aliens can too, yeah.
They're both
Alien
frightening
is scarier.
movies. Well, I mean, the aliens are stabbing lots of people throughout all three. Don't watch the fourth movie. My God, what happened? See, that's what I mean about. That's what I mean about. Like, it's better to stop while you're ahead.
Right.
Prometheus was good. Prometheus.
No, it wasn't. It
I
was a
love
hot mess
Prometheus.
that made no sense.
It was awesome. It didn't make any sense. I agree with that.
It made no
It's got
sense.
problems. It was good. I will defend that movie.
Aliens also gave us one of the greatest taglines of any movie. In space, no one can hear you scream.
Oh man.
Ah, yeah, there
Iconic.
we go.
Also, nuke it from orbit. It's the only way we.
It's
can be
the only
sure.
way. That's right. It's just it's a great show. It deserves to be on a Mount Rushmore.
It does.
Plus, I think that Ripley actually paved the way, going back to Terminator 2, I think it paved the way for a strong female protagonist in Terminator 2. I mean, James Cameron probably had that in the works already, but Sarah Connor really, I think it made it easier to accept Sarah Connor as a strong protagonist because we've already seen Ellen Ripley as a strong protagonist. That's that sort of thing. And I don't want to say it wasn't believable. It just wasn't done. And it's something that was a long time coming. And obviously there's no reason you can't have a strong female lead. So both of those characters are fantastic.
I think it would probably be one of the very first strong female leads that are action oriented, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like there was definitely strong female leads but they were strong and not that way, and not an actiony sort of way.
Yeah, they were determined and sassy, and Princess Leia type.
Kieran, I think it's your turn now.
All right. My number 3 is Ghost in the Shell, an anime.
Ooh.
I do not consider myself an anime fan, so when I give a recommendation, it's good. At least I hope you do. So it's cyberpunk. It's in the future. It's a world run by corporations, and it's dark. It's awesome. So it's about a special ops unit who specialize in mostly the Japanese translation is basically riot police, but they do a lot of international spy stuff and killing ambassadors and that kind of thing. So it's mostly cyborgs. There's only one human character in there, or one fully human character with no
augmentation.
Modifications. And the main character, Mokoto Kusanagi, is a BAMF. She's amazing. And she's completely a robot. And so the movie is mostly like action scenes interspersed with like deep, thoughtful reflections on what it means to be human and transhumanism, and how technology changes what it means to be human. And if we were to become, more digitalized and more computerized. Also, AI is a big part of it. It's got really, really cool fights. Like there's one where an invisible person is fighting somebody on water, and the animation's just fantastic. It's got gunfights, one-on-one fights, a fight with a tank. And it's incredible.
Nice.
The sequel is quite good as well, but there's one review that said that there was too much ghost and not enough shell, and I think I agree with that.
And to be certain we are.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, to be certain we're not talking about the Scarlett Johansson live action Ghost in the Shell.
I forgot about that. I haven't seen it.
No, not that one.
I've not seen either, I don't think, to be honest.
I've seen the animated original film. I don't think it didn't leave as big of an impact on me as it did for you, Hurin. I think I may have fallen asleep.
Right, it's action packed.
It's got some really quiet moments.
Yeah, that's true.
But so that's something that's interesting. Like one of the things we were talking about, Predator. Like when you watch it, you forget how quiet that movie is. Like using like loud noises and very quiet, slow moments is part of what makes the action good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
the difference.
Because if you go back and watch Predator, like there is so very little dialogue. There's hardly any talking. It's very quiet.
Is that... I mean, I don't think I've seen Predator. Is that more of building up suspense with the
part of it.
Quietness?
That's part of it, but part of it is they're sneaking through a jungle and they have to be quiet for what they're doing. Oh my God, I'm gonna smack you. I'm gonna fly to Tokyo and smack you.
But I mean, that's the building of suspense part, right? Like, well, they have to be quiet, otherwise they'll be found out and
but they're not actually being. Yeah, they're not being quiet to avoid the alien. They're being quiet because they're trying to rescue somebody from the terrorists. The alien thing is just something that they stumbled upon in the jungle.
Right.
I need to watch the movie.
It's good. It's very good. And it has another famous line. Get to the chopper!
It's got two of them. I ain't got time to bleed.
Yeah, that one too.
I love that line.
Oh, God.
Before Jesse Ventura went nuts.
It's Panda's turn.
That reminded me of two more movies that were on my honorable mentions that I really considered putting on a bona fide Mount Rushmore, and that's Blade Runner, which
Oh, is that really action though?
That's why I didn't put it on my list.
Yeah, that's why I really didn't consider it, because it's sci-fi, absolutely. But yeah, I don't know that you can necessarily consider it action, and I just forgot the other one because I didn't write it down.
Total Recall, maybe?
No, Total Recall is fantastic, and I think that could be almost actiony.
Yeah, I think it's an action movie.
I think it's. I mean, it drives the action drives the plot forward, and it kind of escalates as it goes. Yeah, I think that could be considered a sci-fi action movie, but it's not one that I really considered for my Mount Rushmore. I don't know why.
Huh.
I don't remember what
Okay.
the other one was, but it was one of those early '80s movies
Nice.
that was really good.
Okay,
It'll
Panda.
come to me in the middle, but
Wait.
It's fine.
Blade
No.
Runner is one of,
We're getting so
Blade
off
Runner
topic
is one of
again.
the best sci-fi movies ever made.
oh
and
yeah,
the sequel is better.
I've not
I
seen
actually have never seen the sequel.
It's incredible.
Wow. I fell asleep between Blade Runner as well.
And that's
Not enough vroom vroom and like fighting robots for Panda.
that's why it's not an action movie.
What's so funny about Panda loving cars so much in her movies is that she doesn't drive.
No.
You don't try? I don't
No.
either.
No. Okay, Panda, what's your next movie?
My next pick is Black Panther. And I rewatched it recently and still love it. There's plenty of action, man-on-man fighting, aerial fights, rhinos charging, spear fighting. I want one of those spears. Like, Ryan has a lot of lightsabers. I want a collection of these spears. And it's categorized by like Rotten Tomatoes as fantasy, but to me it's more like science fantasy with the use of technology, and then the fantasy element is like the heart-shaped flower giving the Black Panther powers and the ancestral plane, those elements, and then the science fantasy is the vibranium and the tech, and there is so much cool tech. The sand table that Shuri has, amazing. The
Love Shuri.
suit coming from the necklace. Ugh. Anyway, there's so much more that I could go into, but aside from, the SFF elements and the action, there's great storytelling. The backstory is really great. Beautiful costumes. I love the costumes and smart female characters. Shuri, Nakia, Okaya. Beautiful scenery. The romantic relationships are adorable. And yeah, I can go on and on, but those are some of the reasons why I love it.
And
a nice
Angela
little
Bassett,
flick.
she's cool.
I'm sorry, what?
And Angela Bassett, I
Oh.
love her.
Yeah.
I have not seen Black Panther or either Avengers movie. I have seen exactly
Wow.
2 Marvel movies.
Well,
I think Black Panther's one of the better ones.
yeah,
I
that's
still prefer Thor Ragnarok.
yeah, those two are the ones that I'm like, they're the top 1 and 2.
I've seen Guardians and Doctor Strange, and both were because I saw them both kind of by accident.
Guardians is fantastic.
It was
It's really
I
fun.
enjoyed it. It was funny.
I think
I
for me it's
love
like
that show.
Thor, Guardians 1 and 2, Endgame, and then probably Panther.
I have seen Thor. I went to see it because the Chris that plays Thor is such a beautiful man, and
He's very pretty.
that was the only thing I liked about that movie is that he was so pretty.
1 and 2 are not that good.
I liked 1. 2
I liked
was
1.
not
I mean, I liked
good.
it, but I have no desire to watch it again.
sure.
I would put it in the lower third of Marvel movies for sure. Thor: The Dark World was just awful,
Yeah.
muddled and bad. But Thor, I think Thor holds up a little bit better than I remembered it to back in the day. And yeah, Chris Hemsworth, holy crap, that guy is a sculpted Marvel.
I'm very,
Specimen.
very excited for the next one with Taika Waititi.
Yeah, Taika Waititi. Yeah.
There's this podcaster who's a movie critic, and he goes to the movie awards every year, and he said that Chris is literally the most beautiful person he's seen in real life. He goes, a lot of these Hollywood stars, their lighting and all this kind of stuff. He doesn't. He actually looks like that, and he really does.
We actually saw him at Disneyland
Oh, really? Oh,
one
cool.
year. He was doing the annual what do they call it, the Christmas where they read Luke 2 and all that, the Christmas processional, the annual Christmas processional, and he was reading Luke 2. Dude is just incredible. I mean,
Sounds awesome.
his voice is buttery smooth and stuff. I'm like, if I were gonna have a guy crush, Chris Hemsworth would be on the short list of candidates. He's just incredible. He's a dude, I tell you. And he really is just as nice as he seems, as far as I can tell.
That's
you know,
nice.
it's not like we hung out at Disneyland or anything like that. But he just seems, every indicator seems to be that he is just as cool as he seems like he is.
Nice.
There are no rumors circulating around about him being an a-hole, so that's good.
No, not at all.
His wife, Elsa Pataki.
We are
she's
so
in
off
the,
topic.
She's
again.
in the Fast and Furious franchise.
It wouldn't be a Legendarium episode if we weren't off topic.
No, my God. Right? Okay, Ken.
I
I
like
believe
Fat
it's
Thor.
your. Huh?
What was that?
I said I like Fat Thor.
Oh, Fat
Fat
Thor.
Thor.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
My
go.
number 2 movie is Tron.
Mm.
The not Tron Legacy, but the original 1979, I believe it was, 1980.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff.
82.
82. Jeez, was it that? Yeah, Bruce Boxleitner as Tron and Jeff Daniels or Jeff Bridges. I'm sorry, and Jeff Daniels would be a whole different movie. Holy cow! But Jeff Bridges and that movie. Obviously, the technology or the effects don't age so well, but that movie inspired so many young kids like me that the world, the technology is the future, and the world is possible because of all of these innovations and stuff. And whenever you looked at a circuit board, especially back in the day, and you saw it as like, oh, look, it looks like a miniature city if you're seeing it from the sky.
Mhm.
What if the computer really was a city and the programs were all people? And it blew your mind. And I'll still pull it out, and I don't care that it's just awful graphics and stuff. I love the story and I love the concept still. And it's got David Warner as the bad guy, and he was always just cool as a bad guy, you know, and the master control program with a deep voice like this, end of line and stuff. That show is just fantastic. So from a general objective standpoint, probably it wouldn't go on the Mount Rushmore, but although I think a good case could be made just for the innovation or the inventiveness of the story and the period in which it came out. I think it could be made an argument for that it was maybe would play the Thomas Jefferson role on Mount Rushmore, you know. But for me personally, it's just one of my favorite movies of all time.
I have only seen parts of it because it was a Disney property, and we had the Disney Channel, and I would watch it. I would see parts of it, and then my mom would come in and like, this was when I was really little, so and she'd be like, "This is not appropriate for your age because you're 6-year-old little red book. You're not old enough for this yet." But what I will say, I get where you're coming from, because it changed the way we looked at what was possible in movie making in a really big way. The graphics don't hold up.
Oh no,
I have seen.
Well,
the
and they
second
didn't,
one.
and they didn't hold up by 1990. I mean, they were not good graphics, but it didn't matter because the story and the concept were fantastic.
It's the concept, yeah.
Absolutely.
The second movie I have seen, and it was not great. It was not a great movie.
See, and
I prefer the second one.
That's the other side. I love the second one too. I do.
Mm-hmm.
The story is not nearly as good, but the graphics, the technology,
Yes,
oh my
it is
goodness,
pretty
what
delicious.
a pretty show. And Daft Punk, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I could watch that show over and over just because it's so visually pretty, you know. But and because I like listening to it. So I mean, if you can combine the two, then make some Uber movie, that would be awesome. But
Artistically, it is very nice. Yeah.
oh, and light cycles. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
I don't know any 8-year-old boy who did not want light cycles after seeing that movie. It was just so neat.
Are light cycles your lightsabers?
If I could have a light cycle, like a real life, honest to goodness light cycle, I would take one. Drive it around. I gotta go get groceries. Hop in the light cycle.
Seems a bit dangerous to me.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Tron is just so iconic that it's made it into, pop culture for people of today. Like, I believe there's in Wreck-It Ralph, right? Like,
Yes,
there's a
there are.
Tron ode
Reference.
to Tron. Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think of all of the odes to Tron now. I mean, there are several. It is one of those, if you said Tron, people would know what you're talking about. Most people probably these days would be like, oh, I've never seen it. Well, it's 40 years old, but people would know what Tron is, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty
I think so.
iconic, the imagery.
I just
Yeah.
want you to know that I have the Highlander theme song stuck in my head right now, Ken, and I hold you responsible.
You are welcome.
I was not. Oh.
I have no rival. No man can be my equal. There you go. That's if I brought
Great.
nothing else.
Perfect.
So my next one is Equilibrium. First of all, Christian Bale is awesome in this movie, and so is Sean Bean. And if you
Does Sean
Spoilers.
Bean die? I'm just kidding. Don't
you
answer that.
no. There. Okay, I won't answer it. He dies. So what you need to do is you need to go on YouTube and you need to search opening action scene of Equilibrium.
Okay.
So it starts out with Christian Bale at the end of the hall, and the main police guys are like, okay, the lights are out. And then he just runs. He starts running down the hall. He shoots off the door handle. He jumps into the room. It's completely dark in the room. And there's people shooting at him. And he's backlit by the door. And then all of a sudden, like there's this long, speaking of silence, this long, quiet moment. And then he just starts, and he's waving his arms around all over the place. And it's crazy. I also picked it because it has Fahrenheit 451 flavor. They're not supposed to read literature or view art because it makes you feel. And it has a Brave New World thing where you get drugs so that you don't feel. And very 1984 because it's kind of got a constant surveillance of everybody going on in the movie. So it combines a lot of themes in dystopic fiction that are out there. And it has this awesome thing called Guntata where they learn these special moves and they shoot. And how can you not like that? I really like watching movies with people shooting people, which probably says something terrible about me.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I love Equilibrium. I've seen it many times. But I do think it's a little bit pretentious for what it is.
I can't believe you just said pretentious to me.
It's a little pretentious. Like, it takes itself so seriously, and it's like people going into dark rooms, like not moving, shooting around themselves. It's absolutely absurd.
Oh, okay. Well,
I see.
yeah.
It's cool and it's really fun to watch, but it's absurd.
Yeah, no, it is. You're absolutely correct. It's ridiculous. But
Well, I
it's
will
so much
add that
fun.
to my list.
I have never actually seen Equilibrium.
Ooh.
I think that's going to have to be remedied immediately.
I will send you the opening scene at least.
All right.
In the DMs.
I mean, I like
Really
Christian
cool.
Bale. I like Sean Bean. It's got Dominic Purcell in it. So yeah, this is speaking my language. I think I got to see this show.
It also has some really cool cinematography in it too. Like a particular scene where a particular Sean Bean dies. It's really well shot.
Really, Sean
Thanks.
Bean dying is not a spoiler. If Sean Bean is in a movie,
It's not. He actually.
I know. It's a spoiler if he doesn't die.
If he lives, exactly. National treasure. Spoiler alert: Sean Bean lives. You know.
He actually, I saw an interview of him not that long ago where he says that he's never going to take a part where he dies again because it's just like a thing,
Aw.
a meme.
He's a fantastic actor. Sean Bean's.
He really is. He's great.
Perfect Boromir.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
He was great. Okay, Hurin.
Okay. So I said it wasn't ranked, but this is actually my favorite action movie ever. Like more than Die Hard. And it's Mad Max Fury Road.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I love everything about this movie.
Mm.
The themes of religion and what destroys the world and family and let's see, that's all I got. But it's great, and the characters are fantastic. I mean, is anyone ever going to forget Immortan Joe or Nux or even Max, who doesn't really say much of anything? And Furiosa, she's so cool. The action sequences are amazing, and it takes place. It's like a race across the desert. I'm not a car guy, and this movie is just filled with like big, cool explosions and cars. And the music! I could
The
listen to the
music.
soundtrack all day
Mhm.
long. And
Yeah.
the guy with the guitar that shoots flames,
Yeah.
and it's
That's
such a
cool.
cool idea.
So awesome.
The sets are good. Like I cannot think of a single thing that I don't love about this movie. And the first time I saw it, unfortunately, was in an airplane.
Oh no.
Yeah, I watched it twice on the airplane. I watched it once, and then I immediately watched it again.
I just realized that there are 3 movies that we've all mentioned that were first dates for me.
The
Okay.
Incredibles was
Wow.
my first date ever.
That was
Oh, that's so
Oh.
cute.
Yeah. So yeah, Mad Max
Did you
Fury
end
Road.
up watching Mad Max in theaters at all?
Me in theater now.
Oh.
It was like a year or 2 after it came out.
Oh
Oh
no.
no.
Oh
Okay.
no.
If it
Yeah, I
ever
know, I
goes
wish I
back into
did.
theaters, yeah.
Definitely.
So we have a movie theater that plays. That's one of the things. Well, I don't know if they exist still, but one of the things they do is they pull old. They'll have like film festivals and old movies and stuff. And it's really cool. And if you ever get the chance, you have to see it in theaters.
Or build a home theater just so you can watch it on a
There we
big
go.
screen with the sound.
I need a bigger place.
In Japan, good luck.
Right? No, this is a great movie, and it also is the source of 2 of my favorite gifts that I use on a regular basis.
That's
Witness
bait.
me.
That's Faye and Witness Me.
Yeah. I don't remember the character names very well. Furiosa and Max are pretty much the only character names I remember, but the cinematography, the concept, the costuming, the music and action, yeah, is pretty cool.
And so many of the effects are practical effects. There's only a couple spots where they use CGI, and it's just great.
Which, in my opinion, always makes an action movie better.
Yes, 100%.
Practical is always better than CGI.
Yeah, if you can do it practically, do it. What?
Except for Transformers.
I disagree. The Incredibles could not be done with practical effects.
Well, okay.
Well, okay.
Come
Yeah.
on. Neither could Ghost
Either-
in the Shell.
Be that as it may.
I mean, I don't know how much
Ghost in the Shell
practical effects
was
they tried.
all hand drawn.
Right. I don't
That's what
know
I'm
how
saying.
much they
Most of that's
tried with
practical effect.
the live action. I don't know.
I mean, hand drawn is practical.
I guess so.
That's true.
Okay.
Wait, but then the engineer hand moved the mouse to create the CGI.
Right? You're wrong, Hurin. Again.
Like CGI is computer generated imagery.
But you have to.
Drawn by a person.
Okay, so
Yes.
then nothing is computer generated.
That's right. Everything is practical by that
That's
that
why
metric.
your argument for the hand drawn doesn't work.
Yes, exactly. I'm with
Wait,
Panda.
why?
Because it's not a practical effect. It's hand-drawn animation.
Okay, well,
It's not
is Star Wars practical effects like the
Some of
the
it is.
rotating? Well, like the first Star Wars with the credits falling down the screen. People always say
No.
that's practical
That's-
effects
I
because
don't
that's
know.
not put in. That's not put in with a computer.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't know. I guess.
Did they have like a giant roll of butcher paper and somebody was cranking
Yeah.
it? Oh,
I don't
wow. I
know.
actually didn't know that.
Cool. I don't want to talk about Star
I mean,
Wars and
somebody
what they
drew
did
that.
to it
I mean, that's practical.
with the CGI in the versions you can get now. It's maddening. Anyway.
That's off
Sorry.
topic for sure.
Again. And the third time we've mentioned Star Wars. Okay, Panda, it's your turn.
Okay, so we've already talked about this film, but it is in my top spot, and it is The Iron Giant. And
aw.
it's so sad that it did not do well in the box office. It deserved much better, but it's become a cult classic, and it's actually, interestingly enough, this is the least action-packed of all of my picks, but it's definitely science fiction. Maybe a little
is.
fantasy. I don't know. But I remember watching this over and over again on VHS because that I'm old enough to have grown up with VHS.
I think we all are.
I'm pretty sure we all are. Yeah.
The story is excellent through and through. The humor, the characters, the wonderful voice talent, and the movie is pretty quotable. And yeah, that ending.
Isn't Van Diesel the voice of the
Vin
giant?
Diesel
Yes.
is the Iron Giant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Harry Connick Jr. is is Dean, which is the scrapyard artist beatnik, and Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
is the mom.
really?
Mhm.
I have never seen the Iron Giant.
What?
Oh, it's
And-
worth a watch.
To
They
my
used to watch
shame.
it
think it
every
still
year
holds up.
on Thanksgiving.
Actually, that is part of the reason why it's become so beloved is because of the Thanksgiving showings on TV.
They would show it 24 hours a day on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
On what channel?
Cartoon Network.
Oh, I really don't know how. I've heard about it. I've heard only good things. Have never gotten around to it.
I
Your
will watch
homework-
I
Your
will
homework
watch
is to
Equilibrium,
get around to it. Yep.
and then you watch Iron Giant.
Okay. Maybe we could do a watch along.
I'm
For
down.
one of those
Although,
movies, please.
I think we'll have to see how we can stream it. Like if it's on streaming even.
Oh no.
I think it probably is.
Okay. So I believe that means it's Ken's turn.
Number one, and Ed, I know we weren't ranking him, but this is my number one on all of my Mount Rushmore. I mentioned it earlier. It's The Matrix.
Nice.
Is my favorite science fiction action movie ever. I mean, and it hits all of my criteria for what makes a great science fiction movie. It's good. First of all, it's fantastic. It was extremely popular. The science drives the fiction. It was groundbreaking in so many ways, in terms of technically, in terms of storytelling, in terms of concept, and the action completely rocked. I mean, so it's plus it made Keanu Reeves a credible actor again, which I think is probably the best thing that it did, because he was kind of, I mean, I know he was an action star sort of in the 90s. He was in Speed, he was in he was in several other movies, and he was quite versatile and stuff, but he wasn't like an A-list really noteworthy actor. But after this movie, I mean, he still is like, whoa, and stuff, but it turned him into an actor who had some range and had some versatility, and people started to take him seriously. And now he's John Wick, and he's I know you love that, but that was the first time I saw him was in Bill and Ted, and I loved that. I saw Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in Alberta in 1989 on a choir trip.
Oh, nice.
That's which
I saw it at a
slumber
slumber party on a VHS.
Oh, look at you!
When
I came home
in college.
You didn't see it till you were in college?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God.
I love Bill and Ted, but I love Keanu Reeves, but The Matrix is sci-fi action at its very best, and it's given us so many things that have just kind of gotten into social now. Red pilling, The Matrix itself, Mr. Anderson,
Yeah.
I
I
love all of that.
quotable.
It introduced us to Hugo Weaving, which thank you for that.
Trinity, that opening scene.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Well,
From the get-go.
everything with the technology, him shooting at the agent on the building, and the agent dodging them and showing multiple variations of him because he's moving so fast that you see multiple of them. And then they take the exact same effect in the story where he's moving faster than the bullets. You move just like them, but they change the way that it's shown where he's moving and everything is slowed down.
Yeah.
So instead of seeing the agent move from Neo's perspective, now you're seeing Neo move from Neo's perspective, where everything is slow and everything is happening to where your reaction time has slowed everything down. great effects all the way around. And
Mhm.
the story is fantastic. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about The Matrix. This is the one I should have written a recap about, and I'm sorry that I didn't read. Maybe next time.
It's old, but it stands up too. I would like to point out that the
and it still stands
Wachowskis were heavily inspired by Ghost in the Shell.
That's true.
So there's another reason to watch Ghost in the Shell.
Nice.
I think The Matrix Reloaded was pretty good too. The third one was awful, but I didn't mind the second one. The second one was
I like both sequels.
yeah. I didn't like the third one quite as much. The second one I will watch all the time. That 17-minute highway scene.
Oh yeah,
Goodness
no.
gracious! There's so many great action sequences in the second one that I'll watch just for that. But I mean, story wise and everything else,
It's bad.
It might not.
Bad.
Yeah, it's not as complete as the Matrix, but
and
but I
the,
still
and the
watch
the nice thing about the first one it's nice, tight, compact story, and that's part of the problem with the other ones is they kind of, and honestly, it's the same with my next one that I'm going to talk about. Is you have this nice, tight, compact story, and then it gets high on its own supply the further you go in the series.
I think that's accurate. Yeah, the Matrix itself could have stood alone, I think, and been just fine.
It should have. I only have one
probably should
major
have.
problem but I can't say what it is because it's a spoiler.
I
Of The
think
Matrix?
at some point,
Mhm.
like, you're successful enough where the point isn't the plot, the point is how cool can I be? So that's typically what action
Really cool.
franchises turn out to
Yeah.
be.
So yeah, I'll tell you when we're done recording what my problem is with it.
Okay.
So last movie, because we've all done four, right? I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Mine is John Wick. Speaking of Keanu Reeves,
There you go.
I'm going to defend it as a portal fantasy because
What is it, a Portal Fantasy?
Oh yeah,
to you?
I'm interested to see how you spin this.
Okay, so it's in fairness, it's much more of a hidden world fantasy than it is a portal fantasy. But you walk
Okay.
into the Continental Hotel and you're basically walking into a different world.
Are you going to
Exactly.
spoil?
That-
Are you going
that's
to
kind of a
spoil
big,
John Wick?
I'm not going to spoil John Wick. How is walking
Okay.
into the Continental Hotel?
I'm
have
just
any-
checking before
Oh,
you get
I'm
too
not going
far.
to go because I'm only going to. I'm not. That's as far as I'm going to go because the rest of it, the argument has to do with the other two movies, which I'm not going to make that part of the argument. So anyway, but yeah, you have the Continental Hotel is literally a different world, including
Literally.
literally. Huron.
Okay. I've not seen John Wick, so I'm. But
Oh,
it
you
just
really
doesn't
have?
come off as-
Oh my god,
It doesn't come off as a fantasy to me, so I'm being a little
It's-
critical.
it's pretty fantastical though. If you think about what's going on in the movie.
Die Hard's pretty fantastical.
If you're arguing that John Wick is portal fantasy, then the Continental Hotel would literally have to be a separate world. Since
But it
Agreed.
kind of
that's
is.
the concept of a portal fantasy is you are stepping
Kind of.
through a portal.
Okay,
You're giving a lot of
fine. That's why I
caveats.
said no. Fine, and that's why I said that technically it's a hidden world fantasy. It's not actually a portal fantasy, but they
Okay.
have magic coins in it. Panda's he's trying really hard not to laugh.
Okay.
So
And-
Tor did have an opinion piece about this where they were trying to argue that John Wick is a portal fantasy. I think there are some arguments there that are valid. It is a stretch.
Look, I would do
I'll
anything.
watch it and give you my opinion afterward.
You're gonna say no.
Okay.
But I will defend it as a portal fantasy because I want this on my action list because it is my very favorite action movie ever.
Yeah.
It's so good. There's lots of practical effects. If you can actually go on YouTube and watch Keanu Reeves as he's learning how to shoot,
Seeing that it's cool.
and it's so very cool. And it's again a nice, neat story. A guy gets his dog murdered, and he decides he has to kill like 150 people to get revenge.
It basically the fantasy part comes from it's a revenge fantasy.
It is a revenge.
Oh my
fantasy.
god, really?
But it also is. I think it's a portal fantasy too, hidden world fantasy.
That is the biggest, most
I don't care what you think, Aaron.
flimsy stretch I've ever heard.
I'm gonna have this movie on my list. And it does have very fantastical elements for sure. Okay.
I'll watch it this weekend after I watch the Muppet movie.
You will like it. You will definitely like it.
Have you watched the Muppet movie?
Yeah, my wife's never seen the Muppet movie, the first one.
Oh, come on. That's great stuff.
Well, she's Japanese. They don't really have that stuff here.
They don't do Muppets in Japan? I would think that
I
they
really
would.
don't.
I have not seen the
But she
new
loves
one.
them, what we've seen. So,
Well,
Nice.
everyone should
so
watch
nobody's
Dark
going to
Crystal.
come at me and yell at me or anything, or make a comment about the movie.
I mean,
I
think they're
actually
not.
have not.
love-
Yeah, I've not actually seen John Wick.
What? Okay, you gotta
I realize
see
that-
John Wick.
That diminishes my punching credibility a little bit. I know, but
Just how about you make it up to me? You
certainly
make up
no
to
more
me.
than not seeing Pacific Rim. I mean,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I was a film
mean-
major in college for 2.5 years.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, so I
Oh.
watched a lot of movies.
Oh, nice. I've seen all three, and I am excited for the fourth. I am a fan. It's
I'm almost positive I'll love it a lot.
yes.
I enjoy the second two movies a lot more than. So I don't like the sequels to Matrix, but I do like the sequels to John Wick.
Okay.
I don't like them as well as I like John Wick. That's my feelings about it.
all right,
Nice.
I can
Anything else to
respect that.
say?
I can't.
Karen.
Go watch John Wick. Go watch John Wick, all three of them.
See, this is what it. Now you can see why he made my son so crazy when we were playing D&D, because he's like this all the time.
If
I am.
anything, you take away. I mean, I would have put John Wick on my list. It's just I myself did not buy enough into the fantastical element argument to be able to put
mean-
it on this list.
The Continental Hotel feels like another world, and it feels magical too. I mean, everything costs 1 gold coin, for God's
Another
sake.
caveat.
Yeah, I don't think the costing of the gold coin is necessarily fantasy,
It's
but
pretty fantastical, though. Look.
I think we're gonna have to go into the definition of fantastical and how we're applying it in this, but I'm not gonna go there. So
the second two you can definitely argue are more Portal Fantasy, especially the third one, than the first one. I will say that.
Yeah.
just go watch it and make your own decisions, and
I
then
will.
come yell at
It's only-
us.
It's
Come
only just
yell
to
at us
her.
on Discord or Twitter.
I will have an open mind, though.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much for joining us on our discussion of sci-fi, science fiction, and fantasy action movies. I'm sure we all made all of you mad because we've left out your favorite. Feel free to yell at us on the Legendarium Discord. The link can be found at thelegendarium.com or at Panda on Twitter at greenteam.pod.
Wait,
Thanks,
what?
Craig. Or you can yell at me. I'm at LRB. Thanks, Craig, for loaning us a small corner of your media empire, and Horizon Brave for starting Green Team. Please consider supporting the Legendarium via Patreon. And thank you, Hurin, Panda, and our special guest, Kenn. And I'm your host, Little Red Book. Good night, everyone.
Adios.
Bye.
Okay, so we're gonna go off script, Panda, for just a minute. He made my youngest so angry one time when we were playing D&D because he just would not stop with the poop jokes. And number 2 son was just screaming at him to shut up.
Oh.
It's true. It was like a switch. Like it wasn't even. I wasn't even making jokes. I was just being crass with like
Yeah.
poop, and he was really angry.
One too
Yes.
many.
Did
guess
you
so.
keep calling him number 2 son? I just
Oh no!
Oh, that's good.
Oh man.
because that would have been the best.
I wish I thought of that.
Me too, actually. That's hilarious. No, he usually goes by his screen name when we're playing D&D.
Nice.
Okay, so back on script, everybody.